Welcome to the She Births Show, a place to inspire your birth, evolve your parenting, and help you live a life you love. I'm Nadine Richardson, your host and creator of the scientifically verified birth education program, She Births. I'm also a mother, yoga teacher, doula, author, and speaker. At She Births, we have supported thousands of families around the world for over 13 years with our unique program, and our vision is to make birth better for every family around the world so that everyone experiences a beautiful birth no matter what unfolds. Not only do we help people have beautiful births, but we also give them the skills and the philosophy to enjoy pregnancy and make parenting easier. As well as our world-class birth ed, taken either face-to-face or online in our app, we also have a free pregnancy guide designed to help you feel calm, connected, and inspired as you and your baby grow. We have a doula matching service, the perfect way to ensure you and your partner are completely supported throughout the whole journey. And we have our Soul Mama Circles, which are the perfect postpartum network to help optimize your mindset and design your life in parenthood. Remember, if you like what you hear today, subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. If you're a parent, about to be one, fellow health professional, join us now for an inspirational deep dive into topics with experts around the globe. We hope you enjoy this special episode. Welcome, everybody, to 2024. I am so happy you're here. I'm so happy that this season of the podcast has decided to be about intuition. I love letting things evolve organically. It really is one of my favorite topics, intuition, and I believe it is one of our superpowers as mums that we are gifted through this matrescence process. Thus, the title to today's podcast, Intuition is the Parental Brain Working. But in this season, I will be exploring intuition, of course, lots of other topics with professionals and parents around the world. And today's podcast is with Rocio Zunini, a neuroscientist with a Ph.D. from the University of Ottawa and mother of two. She's founder of Newborn Parents, which was born out of a fusion of her two passions, the brain and the relationship between parents and infants. She educates parents and professionals about parental brain science so they can take advantage of these profound brain changes that accompany matrescence and patrescence. She's also an advocate for nurturing infant sleep. Rocio firmly believes that when parents and professionals learn about the power of the parental brain, they can create a path for lifelong nurturing relationships within families and their babies. And I couldn't agree more. Birth is that big bang beginning of this lifelong relationship. So today with Rocio, we are going to explore the parental brain and the amazing changes that occur across pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. And I mean, in my experience, when does matrescence ever end? Our children, if we maintain a relationship with them, if we want to have quality connections, then we have to continue adapting and growing continually. Our children will continue to keep us on our toes. I'm hoping this season I might even convince Leroy to come onto the show, even though as a philosopher he doesn't actually believe in intuition, which I think could be something interesting to talk about. But we're also wanting to talk about his 21st birthday experience. I was so emotional for the whole party experience that I could hardly give my speech. But you let me know if you'd like to know more about what it's like to have a 21-year-old going through what we call the quarter-life crisis and looking back at this sacred time of birth and really harvesting that for myself. It was a really powerful experience. Anyway, today, my friends, we're going to discuss how the parental brain is highly dependent upon experience and environment, how parents and infants synchronize and how children borrow our nervous systems, how we can nurture, embrace, and help this process of brain development, why it's so important to take care of the information we are putting inside ourselves, not just the food, why we often feel anxious as new mums and how to manage this. And did you know that just because the brain is more malleable at this time, you can actually benefit even more from things like yoga and mindfulness? We describe the brain networks that are changing across this matrescence, patrescence period, which is the reward, protector, emotional and empathy systems. And of course, we talk about the importance of joy and mutual delight. I really love how brain science reiterates so much of what we practice in our Soul Mama circles, which we will start up again in February this year. 100% of our mums in Soul Mamas say that they absolutely loved the process and found it priceless, by the way. So don't miss out if you're thinking about joining up and finding your tribe and the tools to help you through this wonderful transition. Also, I love how this brain science reiterates the wisdom and importance of she births, how we utilize both bottom-up and top-down approaches within our education. I really hope that this year will be joyous for you, wherever you are, whenever you are listening to this podcast. I want you to know that I love hearing from you. I would love to read your reviews or read an email from you. Love to hear what you're thinking and how you're feeling. We have lots of exciting new things to share this year at She Births. There's my new one-day masterclass, which is a hybrid learning program with the online course. It's 1 day live plus Zoom workshops for Q&A, and it really allows me to include some of the new teachings I've developed around intuition, embodiment and matrescence. So if you're thinking about she births and want to know more about not just what your partner can do to help, but also the transformation that's happening internally, then this is a great option for you, as well as all the wonderful tools and techniques that we've been teaching for 15 years. And we also have our new guide and educator training launching this year. At She Births, we really have such a strong vision to reach more families around the globe. But of course, to do that, we need your help. So if you're passionate about helping restore the sacredness of birth within your community and you want to help others have beautiful birth experiences, then reach out and let us know. Welcome, Rocio, to the She Births show all the way from Spain.
Hi, Nadine. So nice to meet you again.
Yeah, great to have you. It was awesome to be on your summit. And you are a busy lady, apart from being a mum and a neuroscientist and creating offerings for parents and professionals. You also held your summit. I mean, I heard somewhere the other day that you must have synthesized like hundreds and hundreds of research papers, over the last decade or so. That just blows me away.
Yeah, I love reading them, but it's hard to keep up too.
It's really hard to keep up. And I think the key word is synthesized, because you also, we can read bits and bobs of science, and every scientific paper, is like a tiny piece of a jigsaw puzzle.
Yes.
And because science tends to be incredibly reductionist, and that's its greatest strength, and also not what's the opposite of strength. I'm just going to tell everyone it's 8 o'clock at night here and my brain's not working so well in my menopause. But, it's a blessing and a curse. But I would love for you to just share some of your wisdom with our parents and the birth workers out there, because you just know so much about the parental brain. And we definitely want to make sure that we talk about mums' brains, but also partners' brains as well.
Yeah.
I was with a couple yesterday. They came over for lunch and their baby's like 3 weeks old. And I'm like the first person outside of family to touch the baby. And the dad just wanted to tell me like how intense the birth was, and how full on it is holding space. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, that's what I do. That's what I've been doing for 20 years, holding space. And he's like, yeah, but like it's really full on, like holding space for like someone you really love. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. It's really big, you know. And he's like, people need to talk about how intense it is. And I can see he's going through his own process of like integrating the experience. And he's also extremely protective of his partner and of his baby. So there's hormone changes that must be taking place, and there has to be brain changes as well. So maybe we should start with the partners. Like, does their brain change? Yeah, let's start with them.
Absolutely, their brain changes too. And, you know, we were talking before you press record that, you know, for the mothers, there is like a kick of the hormones, right? The birth, the pregnancy, but dads don't have that. But they still go through major changes because the environment, like he's telling him about what he's been through, right? And that already is starting to give the conditions for his new learning. You know what I mean? And
yes.
So, and the parents' brain, the dad's brain, partner's brains also becomes plastic, but it's more both for women and men. There is the environment plays a role, but more for the dads.
That's so beautiful, because I loved one of the quotes that I've actually written down here that you wrote. Did you know that the brain changes occurring in the parental brain are highly dependent upon experience and environment? So we all know that there's this great well, we don't all know. We've been teaching it in she births. Not everybody knows, maybe who's listening, that there's this radical neural plasticity that happens for mums, initiated by hormones, nervous system changes, just as happens in adolescence, just as is happening now in menopause for me, massive neuroplasticity. But how does the environment and experiences kind of alter that? Like, where's the variations, I suppose?
Yeah, well, for the dads, it's really about spending time with the baby. I mean, like I said, for them, obviously, too. But the dads really, really need that, because the brain is like, it starts wiring from the top down. So it's like, for moms, it's bottom up. It's like, and there's this sensory like hormones and like the birth, and like it's very bottom up. For the dad, it's more top down. And like it's interesting that he's saying, well, we need to make sense of this experience that I've been through. We need to talk about it. I mean, it's very cognitive, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. And that's so today I just had this feeling to go to Brunswick Heads and have a little walk, and I'm walking along with my sausage dogs, and sorry, there's a point to this story, everybody, but this woman says, "You're Nadine from She Births," and I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And she's like, "Oh, I did your online course." And I said, "Oh, lovely to meet you." And she had this beautiful little baby called Olive, and she's like, "I just have to say, like, my partner is amazing, and it's because of She Births. Like, he really was there. He got so engaged through the process of the education that he has been, relative to all the other mums that I've met in the local area, he has been extremely present and connected and supportive. And that's kept our baby incredibly calm and our home incredibly calm. And she's got this little 3-month-old. And I thought, that's so interesting to hear, isn't it? In 2 days, these comments about partners, and you're telling us this top-down thing is happening, and that we're influencing that really by how we include. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm sure with your program, you know, you think carefully about the role of the partner, right? I don't know what you do. Like, if you want, you can tell us, but what do you think is like the most important thing there for them for you to get this feedback from the moms?
Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful to get it. I think partners understanding the nervous system and the hormones and the brain changes. I think knowing that brings out the protector, you know, and reminds them, oh, I just have to be the rock in the birth experience. As hard as that is, I have to regulate myself, my nervous system, to be happy, calm, smiling face, while, you know, you look across and the midwife is getting a bit worried about a deceleration, but you stay calm and neutral. And I think they're realizing, you know, that's a really big task, but it's actually a very good practice for parenthood itself, right? Being able to hold yourself and regulate like that.
Yeah, totally.
And now for a quick break. At She Births, we believe that pregnancy, birth, and matrescence, the sacred postpartum, is an awesome rite of passage. Our free holistic pregnancy guide offers you 6 months of weekly support. Drop straight into your inbox, or within our free She Births app, you can get content that will nourish your body, mind, and soul. You can enjoy prenatal yoga videos, great recipes, birth affirmations, course discounts, and more. From me and my team, the creator of the world's only scientifically verified antenatal classes, it is our gift to you. Sign up today and receive the free holistic pregnancy guide at shebirths.com/PG. That's shebirths.com/PG.
They're getting prepared for what's coming too, right? Like once the baby's out, and like you said, this protector comes, and that's part of the parental brain. There's actually I call it a protection network in the brain that becomes very active.
Beautiful. Well, why don't you tell us, now that we talked a bit about partners, it's very important, why don't we talk about what actually happens to the maternal brain, and these wonderful networks that you've broken down just make it so helpful. So hit us with it, Rocio. What is going on?
Yeah, so there is a big network that scientists call the Global Parental Caregiving Network. And the main goal of it is to provide sensitive care to the infant, and is ready to learn this. You're not going to know right away, obviously, but it's ready to learn. It becomes very plastic. It's a big network. It's pretty much the whole brain, really.
Wow.
And then, yeah. And so we can study it in broken sub-networks, right? So there is the reward network that becomes very active when you give birth. That's what keeps you motivated to care for your baby, because it's hard, being up at night, feeding around the clock. It's like, oh my God, who will do this? But we do this because it feels really rewarding, and it's like a kind of like a drug, really. It's those pathways are activated.
Is, right? Is that the same as, like, we call it is it oxytocin and dopamine, the reward system?
Yes.
So it's the high that a marathon runner feels at the end of their run is the high that a birthing mother feels, this oxytocin and then this dopamine reward system, right?
Absolutely. Those pathways become wired. And like you made the analogy of the running, at the end of the run, you get this high. Well, now the end of it is your baby. The target is the baby. So the pathways are getting wired to that target, which is the baby.
Yeah.
And so that what keeps parents motivated to care for this little one. Then
and does that stay alive, then, that oxytocin dopamine reward system? So the more you care for the baby.
Absolutely. There is a positive feedback loop, right? And it reinforces itself. This is why it's so important that we know this as professionals, that we keep the baby and mom together, that we keep, that we care about their nervous system, because if there's trauma, for example, it's going to be difficult,
Yeah,
it's going to be interrupted. There's going to be issues. So it's very, very important that we know that this is wired by being with the baby and by being calm too, having the proper environment and dealing with any issues that might have come during birth, trauma. Just make sure that this is taken care of, is healing, and, things like that.
Absolutely. So that neuroplasticity also makes us incredibly impressionable and sensitive, right?
Exactly. So there is our power, but it's also our vulnerability, right? Because we're very vulnerable to the experiences in the environment. So this is why I do what I do, because I think everybody should know this. So that we can, yes.
Absolutely. So that neuroplasticity, that I'm just writing it down so I make sure that I've got it all covered. So the first network then in that global network is that reward system that gets wired up from that achievement of birth and so on. And what are some of the others? What are the ones that we need to know about?
Then we have the salient network, which is I call it the protective network. So this becomes active. You are very vigilant about the well-being of your baby, of your partner, in the case of dads too. And it's all normal. Like sometimes you may feel that, oh my God, I'm so like hyper vigilant, but it is normal. As long as we have a balance, of the reward. Yeah.
So that can you spell that one for me again? What was the name of that network? Because it was hard to hear you.
Well, in the scientific literature, you will see that it's called the salient network, salient. But I call it the protective network so that people understand it.
Yeah, no, the protector network. I love it. But that's really kicking off in the partners, absolutely, if they've been prepared and if they're in the right place. But it's definitely there. And I hear so many mums, are struggling with the anxiety. They're like, why am I so anxious? Now, is this to do with the amygdala? Is this to do with the amygdala getting larger? So can you explain that to us?
Well, the amygdala becomes very active, and we have to be careful, though, that it's not like overly active. It's normal that it's active, because otherwise we will die as a species. We have to be vigilant with our newborn, right?
Yeah.
It's normal that our amygdala becomes active. But we got to be mindful that whether like there is anxiety, and this is becoming like the amygdala is hypervigilant. So in this case, then, having the right support is very important. And again, from working with, I also work with infant sleep. I don't know if you know this, but
yeah, that's right.
So what I see, because I talk to lots of moms, is the moms come to me very, very hypervigilant and anxious because of sleep advice they're getting.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, your baby's not sleeping alone in the crib. This is a problem. And there goes mom, hypervigilant, anxious, not being able to sleep, just disastrous. And we're creating this with the type of sleep support that is out there. There are no studies for me to tell you, oh, this is something doing this to the parental brain, but from talking to people, this is what I see.
I think that's really interesting because, again, it comes back to environment and exposure and experience. And, if you're on social media or if we're listening and asking for advice from someone that might be a bit strong in their opinions, or it just makes us, it's amplified, the self-doubt. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I had my own experiences of that. It wasn't around sleep advice. It was around diet advice. And we still suffer the consequences of that interruption and that bad advice given by an early childhood centre nurse. And, it goes into such self-judgment and downward spiral. And it takes mums away from intuition. And I think if we get into our feelings and our intuition, not our emotions, these, emotive kind of reactions, but those subtle feelings and the subtle quiet voice and our hearts and our bodies, often, they have the answer, but they're being overridden, and the hypervigilance is amplifying it, right?
Exactly. So this is what's happening. Intuition is being undermined and overridden, and it's not good.
Yeah. Not good. It's not helpful. What do we get next? We've got our reward system. We've got our protector system. What else have we got?
Then there is the emotion regulation network. So this one is very important because this is the one that becomes very active when our babies are needing us. Like if they are stressed or they're crying, they need co-regulation. They need to borrow our nervous system. And so this network becomes active when we're doing that. Yeah, when we're taking care of us.
This is my favorite. This is the like, I think the oxytocin, dopamine, like you just like sort of fall into that and live into that, and then the protector and the anxiety can kind of take you over. But this co-regulation, like, is actually rewarding as well in itself, isn't it? Like, when I can pick up somebody's baby and settle them, or, you know, Bethany Saltman was on our podcast, and she's written about this pondering. She's written a sort of semi-biographical, semi-historical, semi-scientific look at attachment. And I'm having a brain drain because I'm in menopause, just going to say it again. But she's in our podcast, and she says that, you know, healthy attachment is mutual delight and co-regulation. And so that mutual delight is just like such a beautiful term, and it goes so well with co-regulation as well.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's not only about like, oh, they're crying and we're gonna bring them down, but it's also the delight. It's twofold. Both are very important. Mary Ainsworth, who is like the pioneer in studying attachment, she coined this. She saw this in her hundreds of observations, that there is delight. And she said that there is a key component in the attachment relationship.
I love that. That's right. Mary did. And Mary never had children, but she, you know, she watched and watched and watched. And to see that spark of light and delight, it is a magical connection between, you know, parent and child. It's so beautiful. So these are all becoming super plastic. They're starting to become plastic in pregnancy, or like with oxytocin and endorphins. I sort of talk about it in She Births, like when we give birth and in the lead up, it begins in pregnancy. It's like we have a big fresh snow dump in the brain. And particularly, you know, in transition, that 8 to 10 centimeters, the frontal lobe and the neocortex is like filled with endorphins. And that is a bit like being in an opium den. It can be like you're exhausted, you don't think you can go on any longer, you fall asleep in between contractions. And I feel like the oxytocin, and I'm saying I feel like, because I don't really know where I got this information, to be honest. So you might have to correct me, but the oxytocin and the endorphins are just like melting down our brains and creating these fresh snow for us to create new pathways. Is that what happens in birth, or have I got it all wrong? Please tell me.
No, well, if things go as expected, there is the biggest, you must know this, there is the biggest peak of oxytocin, right, in your life.
That's right.
So that analogy is right. That it's like we get this and we're melting in it. Yeah, I think that's how it is. I have lived that myself too with my birth, fortunately. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So that's it. So in a sense, like love, oxytocin, it is actually melting us and dissolving our current ego status, our default mode networks, and it's awakening us as well.
Yeah, it's like, it's like nature's wise, right? It knows that something major is going to happen. You're going to meet your baby. And so it brings this rush of oxytocin, so that it's like, again, we go there with the reward network. Target the baby, like you know what I mean? It's like this moment.
Beautiful moment.
Yeah.
And now for a quick break. Contrary to popular culture, She Births believes that childbirth can be the best day of your life. It is designed perfectly to be empowering, enriching, and bonding. An awesome rite of passage. Our childbirth education programs have helped thousands of families around the world since 2008, allowing families to not only feel empowered through education, but also connect with their innate birthing wisdom to create the best birth possible and begin their parenting journey with confidence. She Birth's unique methodology was scrutinised in university trials and has been published in the British Medical Journal for improving birth outcomes for both mother and child. I'd like to invite you to begin preparing for birth today. Just go to shebirths.com to discover our 2-day weekend face-to-face courses or access the online courses from anywhere around the world. That's shebirths.com. Create your beautiful birth with the world's only scientifically verified antenatal classes. What happens? What else have we got next? What's some of the other, how many more little systems are there?
Then there's the empathy network. This one I love because this is the one that becomes active when we're trying to be in our baby's shoes, when we're trying to see what's happening, also when we are feeling what our baby is feeling. And is essential for secure attachment that we activate and we fine-tune this network.
Oh, wow. So empathy network, feeling what they're feeling, it's different, I suppose, to emotional regulation. Is this maybe the part that also allows us to have a mother's intuition about what's going on for our baby or what's happening if they're in another room? Like I remember Leroy being in another room and I'd be like, he's about to wee, and I'd run in and put the potty under his penis, like it was just...
I think so. I think because the insula is part of the empathy network, we know that, and it's part of the emotional empathy network, which is visceral, and we feel like our baby feels. And then, but there's also, I think, is involved in intuition as well, this part of the brain, in the insula.
Insula. Whereabouts is that in the brain?
How to describe? I want to show you. It's like you have to go in a little bit. You can, like, it's hiding under the folds. Yeah.
I just love that you can like describe even its in a bit and under the folds. There's all these little bits.
It's not a very good description. I had to show you a picture. I can show you after.
Okay, so we've got reward system protector, emotional regulation, empathy network. What else is going on? Anything else?
Those are the networks that have been studied. I'm sure they're going to come up with more, but that's what I have seen the scientists are talking about. Yeah. So, yeah.
Wow. And what's your favorite thing about studying and learning in this field?
Oh my goodness, I'm just such a nerd with this, with the brain in general. This is what got me into neuroscience. The neuroscience was neuroplasticity. When I first heard about it, I was like, what is that? This is amazing. I want to study this. I'm going to go get a Ph.D. And so I studied neuroplasticity in general, but then I became a mom and I was like, whoa, what is happening here?
Yeah.
This is something. So yeah. Then eventually I just started reading by myself, because when I was doing some research in the lab, I wasn't really studying the parental brain. I was studying like the aging brain and language and bilingualism, all the stuff. But then for my own interest, I started reading this literature, and I found it so fascinating. And then with the arrival of my second son, I started to connect more with moms. They were asking me questions. And then I started thinking, oh, maybe this could be a job. And so I decided to develop, like, to synthesize the research and put it out there so that people could learn about it.
It's beautiful. And then how do we, in our lives, actually sort of nurture and embrace and help this neuroplasticity and this positive wiring take place? Because we all know it can go haywire. And we should probably talk about that, like how to repair. But how can we, just living our lives, try and keep a positive kind of wiring happen in our lives?
Yeah. Well, I think we have the answers for this. It's like taking care of our nervous system, right? And if we are a parent or we're not, this is something we all got to do, right? To live a more fulfilling life, to really take care of our nervous system. And if there are traumas, like work on the healing of our traumas. Like the best thing we can do for our children is just taking care of ourselves and find our happiness, what brings us joy, because they're going to absorb that. Like if we have daily joy, they are going to embody that too, right? So it's so important that we don't focus just on reading all the parenting books.
Yeah.
But rather take.
Yeah. joy and care of the nervous system. And I think, yeah, I mean, we, in our Soul Mama circles, self-care after birth stories and sharing that is our first topic is self-care, you know, and it looks very different on the other side of pregnancy. You know, it's so different, pregnancy and postpartum, in terms of self-care, what's available to us time-wise, now living with this hypervigilance and needing space from our babies, but also finding that we're so attached, it's very hard to let go of them, to go and have so-called time out, because a lot of the time out or self-care in a sort of modern world is away from child, you know, is going for a massage or going to a yoga class or whatever. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong, like we need those times, but it's also really hard to leave our children, right?
It is hard. This is why, I mean, we need the right support. You know what I mean? I for me, an ideal world would be where postpartum doulas are part of just the government pays for it. You know, like it's in your taxes. It's just part. That's what I dream. Like, imagine if we all had this type of care, for example. Then we could get the massage, we could get the exercise, we could get the connection, and we don't necessarily need to be away from our babies. I mean, like you said, if you want to, you can, but you don't. Like in an ideal world, you wouldn't have to. You know what I mean? If we had
Right. You'd be in a village, you know, and I think that's the thing. It's normal. I just think so many of our problems and unease with parenting and is happening because we're no longer living in a village, and it's just such a tragedy that women aren't raising children with other women around. And when we all hang out together, you know, when I see the soul mamas, they all go to the beach together, and a few mums will go swimming and a few mums will look after 6 babies, you know. And just that kind of, again, it brings mutual delight. There's healthy attachment. It's a lovely stretching of that energetic umbilical cord and all these beautiful transitional moments, and sharing the journey together. Absolutely. Laughing together about it is so important.
Oh my God, it's so important. And yeah, we're missing also the wise women, like the older ones. It's so important. And yeah, it's a tragedy, like you said, we're all missing this. And I wish we just had this and we didn't have to work at building it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. And I think a lot of people are looking to social media because the most common sort of feeling that I hear from mums is this feeling, yes, there's mum guilt, but there's just extreme loneliness. And so they're at home on their own and they're doom scrolling. And that just sets off, I think, more hypervigilance and more self-doubt. Again, like you say, it's like reading the books. I mean, I find that myself, I start to go into massive self-doubt around what I'm doing in my life, because everybody just comes across as the expert, like they've all got it sorted, and you just can't feel good in any respect. So we have to be so careful about, I think, the information that we're taking in, because if we are actually wiring ourselves up, self-beliefs is happening all the time or not, and it's kind of setting foundations in place. I mean, is the brain going to become quite a bit more fixed at a certain point, you know, at 3 years, or what's going to happen? Like, are we going to stay this plastic forever?
Yeah, well, good question. So the brain longitudinal studies, I think the longest one to my knowledge now is 6 years postpartum.
Yeah.
And they're seeing that the brain, you know, the brain change, and the changes are there. This doesn't go away. I don't know about how plastic it is. Like, that's a good question. I don't think they have been studied. I would think that the most plastic is like during the early postpartum, but then your brain always had to learn, because your child is in a different stages all the time. Adolescence, completely different. And like, That's sure you got it, right? Your parental brain has to learn new things about your child again. So I do think that It's probably still plastic. I don't know how much, but it is still plastic.
Yeah. And I think, the truth is we're always in matrescence once you're pregnant. Even if you've lost a baby, the brain changes can be seen. You can see clearly whether you lost a baby at 10 weeks or, 20 weeks or whatever it is. You can see that in the brain because the brain has changed in that time. Is that right?
I don't know is there a study showing that? I have not.
Dr. Oscar Sorelak, sorry. Dr. Oscar said that it can be, seen. He was talking at our birth trauma awareness conference.
Wow.
He was saying, it can be seen, like how long the gestation or how much brain change has happened.
Okay. I haven't read the study, but I do know that, if there is a pregnancy and even if there was a miscarriage, the cells of the fetus are in your body. There is an exchange there of cells. And so this baby is forever in you. So that's why it's like there's mourning, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of invisible, but it's real.
Yeah, absolutely. Losing that sense of us as well.
Yeah.
Not just a future idea, but actually a piece of us, for sure. So the changes to our nervous system and the baby borrowing our nervous system, that co-regulation, is there anything else I suppose we could help mums with? I mean, I think that social nervous system is incredibly important, like we've just said, for self-care. I think you're a big fan of mindfulness and other sort of techniques. What are some of the sort of research techniques that can help take care of our nervous systems?
Yeah, I mean, breathing is the big one, and it's so simple, right? And everyone says it.
I know, but conscious breathing actually isn't that simple. Because
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But what I mean is just breathing. It's like really, like learn to breathe. And everyone talks about it is because there is tons of research and the research is there and we can ignore it. And so to me, like the non-negotiable is like conscious breathing, belly breathing, learn to do this. I got to practice more myself. But
I pause and I close my mouth and I take some deep nasal breaths and let my belly move and let my shoulders drop. It's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and it's important to, because when regulating the nervous system, you can have top-down techniques and bottom-up techniques. Bottom-up is from your body. So breathing or massage or going into nature, all of those things. So it's very important that we are mindful of the two ways, you know what I mean? Because sometimes, for example, if we're only doing top-down, we're only journaling, or we're only going to a psychotherapist that is very talk, and we're still not doing that well, or it's very short-term, the improvement is because we gotta remember that our body wires also bottom up, like the nervous system is very important.
So important. And I love that. I love that you remind us of that and make those distinctions and the importance of working both. I feel that, for me, it's been such a big journey in feeling a sense of safety. And that's why I've gone into studying the nervous system in so much depth the last 6 months or the last 2 years, but deeper dive this last 6 months is to really understand what makes me feel safe. I know a lot of top-down kind of things like boundaries make us feel safe, but actually what are some ways that I can hold my body and even my eyes, whether they're protruding forwards or they're relaxed back in my head, or if they're in my plumb line kind of mid-center, is a very different experience for my body, brain, nervous system. So learning some of these and orienting, just being where I am and turning around and letting my eyes move, and ways of holding, havening or holding my arms, just allows me to feel safe in my nervous system.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're bringing us such an important point. It's about feeling safe, really. Yes. And this cannot just be rationalized. It has to be lived in your body.
Yeah, it's got to be felt. I heard in one of your other interviews about conscious dance and movement has even been
with Hope. Yeah, like the podcast because Hope is a conscious dance facilitator. I haven't done any of that. I should, but she does it for mamas. Like she has these classes where they go and dance, and
I love that.
I know, it's so wonderful.
It is. It's beautiful, and often that's a really common, play thing that we do with our children is dance with them. You know, friends came over at Christmas with their little girls, and we all had a dance to Shakira and, of course, Moana, my favorite. Like that little girl in Moana, she's just like the best thing in the whole world. That song, you know, the one I've been staring at the ocean. My God, it's so good. And so, you know, singing and dancing to that, it's just so helpful and nourishing for us and for our children. This is mutual delight. There it is again.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. The joy and the mutual delight. Dancing is we should all do it more.
Yeah, and we do that in our Soul Mama circles. Sometimes we do some shaking, sometimes we share playlists and all that kind of stuff. It's so important. Is there any other sort of tools or guidance you would love to give parents? And then we'll talk about birth workers. What would you love to say to the parents out there?
Well, just spend time with your baby, you know, delighting your baby, find what brings you joy, you know, with and without your baby too. That is just going to amplify that feeling in your family, and your baby will absorb it. And if you feel like you need help with your nervous system, because we all need help with it, like with professionals, then it's important to find somebody that can support us and that is knowledgeable about it.
So beautiful. And what would you say to our birth workers or birth professionals out there? What would you like to say to them?
Learn about the parental brain for sure. It's so important. I think everyone should know about it, because I don't think it's in our culture yet. It's not common knowledge.
No way.
And you can see from this talk how important it is that we are able to include this knowledge and education in our practice and apply the science in our practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And just because the science is well researched, well done, and published doesn't actually mean that the average practitioner has actually been guided towards implementation or integration of that awareness. We know it takes, 17 years on average for evidence-based to be implemented into hospital or medical systems, if at all. And I did see it's the University of Melbourne, their medical school training has done research, and it's shown that medical students begin their training with really high levels of empathy, and by the end of their 6 years, they have incredibly low levels of empathy.
Oof.
It's heartbreaking, but it's also something that we often experience, and we're at the end of, and in our very vulnerable states. So I think they're actually the first university in the world to include empathy training in their med school, which is fantastic. But I just think it's really important that, we have our awareness ourselves, and we learn to hold ourselves and have discernment around what we listen to. And if we do hear things from professionals that are hurtful, disregarding, or, coercive in any way, then reach out to someone who is a true birth worker, and they can help you understand and hold space for you. Because I think, we're so vulnerable at this time, pregnancy, birth, postpartum. We definitely need people to hold space, not give advice necessarily, but help you find your own pathway in your brain and your own pathway with parenting.
Absolutely, so important. And there are so many workers out there that are doing a wonderful job too.
That's right. Exactly. And you're one of them. So thank you, Rocio, so much for sharing all your wisdom with us today. I will put all the links to your website and your social media. And people are very lucky to have you if you're helping them with sleep training and professionals as well. It's really great. Mm-hmm. Thanks for synthesizing all the research for us.
Thank you for having me, Nadine.
I'm Nadine Richardson, and you've been listening to the She Births Show. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. We'd love to know what you would like to hear more of. You can find me and my team of amazing doulas and educators at shebirths.com and our awesome community on Instagram and Facebook. Within any good app store, you can download our free pregnancy guide via She Births, 2 separate words and plural, as well as access a range of online courses. Remember, when it comes to having a better birth, an easier transition into parenthood, your education is your empowerment. Don't forget to check out the catalogue of previous podcasts, and thank you for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed the show.